Hey there everyone, I'm Dresden, and welcome back to another episode in the fish tank corner. Now, I don't think I've showed you my height compared to this shelf, yet. This is me. I think I'm maybe 5'8", 5'9", I don't know. Alright, here I am. The camera's leaning up on a mystery tackle box, which you will see a video on in the near future. I do want to start doing fishing videos on the channel. I have a couple of cool videos lined up, some of which will have probably came out before this one. But anyway, here I am next to the stand. Here's me, like, my head is on the tank now. So, it's pretty big. You can see, alright, so here's a better view. I do have to crouch down a little to get in frame, but this is a little bit better. So, here's my height compared to it. I'm a little bit taller than it. You can see here the 20-gallon we built recently on the channel. That video is out already. He is so angry. What are you so angry for? I don't think the videos came out by the time I recorded this section of this video. So he doesn't have a name yet. So make sure you drop your name in that video comments down below that video. But here's the 20. It's pretty big. Here's the 40. It's also pretty big. You can see our stockpile of goods going into this tank. Still waiting on some more bags of soil for that. But we're focusing on this tank right here today. It's a 10-gallon tank. That's gonna house my third Betta fish that I actually have in a tank upstairs at the moment. Temporary holding tank. I went ahead and bought him, I think, last week. I think I have a name for him, but I'm always open to suggestions in the comments down below. And this is the soil. I bought 2 of these bags for the 40-gallon, but they haven't arrived yet. But I bought 3 of them. 1 of them arrived. The other 2 are being held up till Wednesday. And it's this. So this is the Active Flora brand that I usually use, of course. But this is the Lake Gems kind of color. So as you can see, it's a bunch of tiny rocks. It is fertilized substrate. So it's, sorry, this is probably really loud. It's the exact same as this black substrate, but instead of black, it's just little rocks. Downside to this, you can see how murky that water is. Yeah, I was reading reviews on this specific type, and it said the water ships really murky sometimes. And I super glued the super glue container to the lid of a Betta fish bowl. Or, cup thing that I just use for tank maintenance. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and open this up into a 5-gallon bucket and scoop out the substrate cup by cup with this here Betta maintenance cup that I haven't been using for Betta maintenance because I have big tanks for my Bettas, and that cup doesn't really do water changes as well as it used to in my smaller tank. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and dump this out into this bucket, and then I'll be back with you. Alright, so we have the tank here, and we have our dirt, and let me just, there's not an easy way to grab this camera out of the tripod, so we're just going to leave it on the tripod. But, look at how murky that water is. Yeah, it's almost like they pulled it straight out of a lake and then fertilized it, which is probably what they did, being honest, which is kind of neat. We're going to go ahead and scoop these rocks out, try to add as many rocks as we can without getting much of the mud. I know for a fact that some of the mud will stay because I've added a few rocks, as you can see. And even if I grab one rock and put it in, you can see a little dirt patch. So if I grab like a little handful of rocks, yeah. So I've turned the filter off. I don't want it to suck up that dust. I want to let the dust settle a little. But we're gonna, I guess, just enjoy a time lapse of me putting some rocks in, and then I'm going to tell you what I'm planning on doing with the tank later in this episode when I get a few more materials. Alrighty, so in this tank now is every last big rock. And I'm sure you saw it in the time lapse. This is all the water that's left. Basically didn't put any water in there. This is just basically from the rocks. It's also higher up than the filter. I am gonna do a water change tonight, most likely. I'll probably do an entire 50% water change. I'll just fill up this whole bucket before I dump it outside. You can't see the rocks at all. You can't see into that tank, which is bad because it's just way too murky. And my plan for this tank, told you I'd tell it to you. See this here, this plant? This is called a Vallisneria. This one in particular is a jungle Vallisneria, but in this tank we do have a nice big one in the back that you can't see. I think it's even branched off in this tank. And then we have 4 in here that have all grown from that single one that I've transported over to this tank. So, tons of Vallisneria. Hopefully getting more Vallisneria, and I want to have Vallisneria on at least one side of the tank. Hopefully that side, the side that doesn't have the filter on it. This side's going to have some rocks. It's going to have a nice piece of wood and maybe some Java moss, maybe some smaller plants, some pearlweed maybe, since I seem to be into pearlweed now. No swords or anything big like that, because as you can see, a sword that starts out smaller than this one can easily overpower a 10-gallon. That's a huge Amazon sword. Actually, that one in the back's an Amazon sword. Started out about the size of that, and it's now half the size of my 10-gallon. So, great job filtering the water. Looks great. It's huge. It's massive. So, I'm going to let this settle. I'm going to do a 50% water change and possibly turn the filter back on tonight. Might wait till tomorrow to turn the filter back on. After the water change, I'll show you how the water looks. I'll let you know if it looks any different. It probably won't, but we'll find out. Alrighty, so it has been 2 days and 2 over 50% water changes, filling up a 5-gallon bucket to the brim and letting it sink, or dumping it out and filling this back up and then redoing it a day later. But it's finally starting to clear up and looking good. And we did get our other 2 soil bags in today for the top tank. This one looks pretty clean. I could probably get away with just dumping this in. But this one looks not as bad as the first bag, but definitely don't want to add that much dirt into the tank. So when we do get to the video of us working more on this tank up here, this 40-gallon, I will definitely do something with those rocks. But we're gonna let this settle a little more, maybe a day or 2. I'm sure if I wipe the walls off, it'll also get cleaner looking. And I need to get these words off from the warranty sticker. But looking pretty good. Even siphoned this morning. I siphoned the top of the rocks, so they look back like river stones. They are fertilized rocks, kind of the same as these black rocks here. Same brand, same everything, same fertilized, just bigger, like coarser grain. So should be pretty good. And yeah, we should be good to add stuff in the next day or 2. That's what you'll see next. So let's just get there. All right, so it is time to get all these planted. So I have here my Vallisneria. This is 3 jungle Vallisneria plants. And then I have 4 Lobelia cardinalis. You can see right there what it is. It's nice purple leaves. So we're gonna have this half of the tank, the Lobelia. This half of the tank is going to be these nice Vallisnerias. As well as we have some Vallisneria in here. We're gonna move, I think, 3 from here and all of it from this tank. If there is, I know there's 1 in this tank. If there's more than 1, we'll also move it. I have my lights off in all my tanks yet. Now they haven't turned on yet. But I also, as you can see, have a lot of bladder snails in this tank at the moment. You can see right now in frame 1, 2, 3. Right there. There's 1 back there. There's a lot of bladder snails. It's not a huge problem at the moment. I don't mind a few bladder snails, but when they start getting more abundant, I'm gonna have to put some away, let's say. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead. Let me grab these other Vallisneria plants, and then I'll be back, and we'll get started on this. All right, so I've got all of my Vallisneria out of the little containers. You can see here, had about 4 of them, or 3 of them. We had 3 of them. And then I got them out of there. Turns out there were 3 in there, and 1 absolutely massive one in there. Like, Let me find. Look at this. Look at how long this is. That's one strand from one plant. That's just insane. I also got all the bladder snails off of the ones that had bladder snails and bladder snail eggs on them. So it should be all good. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and plant the Vallisneria before I get the cardinal plants out. Or not cardinal plants, the Lobelia plants out. So let's go ahead and get those planted now. Alright, so I've got my Vallisneria planted. And it looks pretty good. I would like to get a few more, but I know that they will kind of spread pretty well. So, not really worried about that. So now we need to get the Lobelia. We need to plant it on the other side of the tank. I do want to have a nice division here. Maybe pile some rocks up, do something nice there. But this is looking really good. You can see I stirred up a little bit of debris, but that's okay. They're all planted again. If anyone skipped to this part of the video, didn't watch the beginning, and is saying you need fertilized substrate. This substrate is fertilized. It is this Actiflora Planted Aquarium Substrate Lake Gems. So it is fertilized, and it's what I have. It's the same brand as this black one. Actually, there's some in that tank. There's some in that tank that's not done yet. There's some in that tank, and there's some in this tank. So I trust the brand. My plants are growing great, and they will thrive in here. So let's go ahead and get the Lobelia planted, and then we'll figure out something to do with the middle. Alright, so before I really talk about this tank, did you guys know that Anubias, I'm pretty sure this is Barteri, grows flowers? Because I didn't. And now there's an Anubias flower in Mathomaloom's tank. Just thought that was interesting. I just noticed that. And like, that's really cool. Look at that. Anyway, here it is. It's not completely done. Still have some more things to add, but we have our Lobelia in this side and our wisteria in this side. That's what I wanted. I do want something in the middle, probably a piece of wood, maybe some rocks. I do also have some Java moss to put in the middle. I actually have 3 cups of Java moss that I bought at my work that I would like to put in this tank, and some in that tank, which has an algae problem I need to deal with. And maybe some in this tank when we get to that. But here this is. I took some cuttings, took some parts that fell off, planted them in here. So this is all also this Lobelia. And over there I planted some seeds that weren't opened yet, that weren't growing yet. I don't know what's gonna happen. And a random piece of dwarf hairgrass that decided to show up in this tank. Don't know where it came from. It just showed up. But yeah, so I will catch up with you guys whenever we get whatever's going in the middle of this tank first, and then we'll get the fish situated. But I'll be back with you guys whenever we get the center element for this tank. Alrighty, so we have the tank completely done. So I decided to add some rocks in the back and a nice cup of Java moss into those rocks, and I think it looks pretty dang good. That's been sitting there for a little while, and this rock is still letting off air, but that's the recent rock I put in today. The rest of it's been in there for about a day. So, looks pretty good. Big fan of it. I think it's ready for our fish now, which we don't have a cover, but we do have cling wrap. I made it with cling wrap cover just like I did on this guy's tank. So, that's probably what I am actually going to end up doing. But, let's go ahead and grab our fish, and then we can move him down here. Alrighty, so I have taken him out of his temporary holding tank upstairs and brought him down here along with the snail that was in the tank with him. There's our snail, got a golden mystery snail. And our boy. This is my brand new blue marbled Betta. And boy is he pretty. So he will definitely end up changing colors. He's already changed colors. He was a lot more white when I bought him. I did get the smallest one of them at the store. I think there were 3 of them. And I grabbed the smallest one. So pretty excited for that. This tank is all ready for him to go into though. So let's go ahead and get him in. Alrighty, and the first step is going to be to grab our snail. So the water in this container is the water from this tank. I've already acclimated him to it. It's 100% the water from this tank. So let's go ahead and drop the snail in first. He can do his own thing. Now, all we need to do is pour the Betta in. So let's go ahead and do this very carefully. Yes, I will put the saran wrap lid on here as well. There we go. Get him in. Let's get him in. There he is. Our boy in his brand new 10-gallon tank, which is much better than the temporary holding tank I have, which is a 2.5 gallon. I think he'll like going in and out of the Vallisneria. I think he'll like these little plants a lot. I don't know if I'm gonna get any other fish to go in this tank with him, maybe just some nearite snails or something. But yeah, he should like it a lot. I'll go ahead and update you guys on him in, I don't know how long, a few hours probably. I don't have much time to get this video out, but I'll go ahead and update you guys on him in a few hours. Alrighty, so it has been about an hour with our fish in this tank, and he is loving it. Look at him. Look at that guy. He's taking a stroll. He likes hanging out in the plants. He likes the Vallisneria, but I think he likes the cardinal plants a little more. Not cardinal plants, the Lobelias. He'll often be looking in that glass through it at this tank, and he'll look at the other fish, like right there. You see him in the back there looking at the other orange fish. They're just kind of chatting. Yeah, so I didn't give like that long in between updates. I know that next week's episode will be based just off of the updates. So I'll have an update on this tank, that tank, that tank, and that tank. Just complete updates all around in the fish corner. Also, you can see I took the lid off of that tank and put it on here because I don't need him jumping out, and I'm not worried about my platy fry jumping out. And at some point soon, this tank will be done with all the platies and platy fry. I'm thinking I'm probably gonna move the 4 platies out of here and put them up there as well, since these platy are big enough to survive with them. The baby platies that are in this tank, you can see they've had some babies and they've just been growing up in the weeds. I will try and move them into there, but I might just leave them in here. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that tank after that. I'll probably just save it for if I need to raise any fry or anything. Yeah, so it should be pretty cool. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the build process and the video on this tank. If you did, smash the like button, hit the red subscribe button, and the bell icon down below to get notified of when I upload. Leave name suggestions for this guy in the comments down below, and I'll look through them and see if there's any I like. And yeah, until next time, this has been Dresden with my brand new blue marble Betta and his tank. And goodbye.